Rev up your engines! Well, with the price of gasoline going sky high, and maybe you like to drive fast, but it's driving you nuts, you ought to think about buying a used motorcycle then. Because even a screaming 154-mile-an-hour bike like this Yamaha gets 40 miles a gallon if you drive it normal, and you can still get deals on a motorcycle. Here's how to do it. Numero uno is this. Find out what the popular motorcycles are in your area, and don't buy one of those. For instance, around me here, everybody and their brothers and uncles and cousins are driving Harley Davidsons because that's in. So their prices are sky high. So for months I was looking at this Yamaha sitting in a guy's front yard. Obviously no one was giving offers on it because everybody wants to drive a Harley around here. I got this beautiful bike. Only got 30,000 miles on it and I paid 3,500 bucks for it. You'd get a couple of wheels for a Harley at that price. No motorcycle, no engine, just a couple of wheels, right? Go and get what other people don't buy. Get something else. Now these Yamahas are insanely built motorcycles. They can run like stink for a really long period of time. Do you really need a motorcycle that goes 154 miles an hour? Probably not. But it's certainly going to keep up with traffic. You don't have to worry about passing people in this thing. And it might be old because it's 2005, but motorcycles aren't like cars. Motorcycles are mainly toys. So you can have 30,000 miles on one, 18 years old. Motorcycles are different. People don't drive them every day, 20,000 miles a year. For example, this thing went 1,600 miles a year. And a lot of them have even less. Now, if you're checking out a bike to buy, here's the first thing. Make sure the bike's cold. Touch the engine. You want it ice cold, so it hasn't been warmed up and sheeted. This one's ice cold. It sat all night. Turn the key on. Push the start button. Yeah, starts right up. It's a Japanese motorcycle. Your finger inside. As you can see, it's pretty clean. You got a little bit of soot, but I mean, it's not covered with black. Both of these are pretty clean inside. If they're covered with black soot, they're running too rich. And the last thing you want is oil. If they're all oily, unless you got an old two-stroke motor that's going to be oily, almost all the bikes are four-strokes. You don't want to have them oil burners. Rarely do these Japanese vehicles burn oil. Most people take care of them. If it is all oily in the pipe, walk away. You don't want one where you have to rebuild the engines. They're very complex engines, very expensive to rebuild. But that said, they can last a really long time. It's nothing for one of these to go over 100,000 miles. Speaking of mileage, when you do check the speedometer and odometer, watch this. When I turn the key on, you see the check engine light comes on and then goes off. That's what you want. That means somebody didn't take the bulb out of the check engine light and it's got a problem and it's hiding anything. It's supposed to come on and it goes off when it checks itself. Now, unlike cars, motorcycles aren't covered under OBD2 laws. Some of the later ones are, but most of them don't have an OBD plug you can plug in. Now my Triumph does. It's a 2011, but this is a 2005. It doesn't have an OBD plug, but it does have a diagnostic system. And if there's a problem while you're driving on the road, the check engine light will come on and you'll get codes on the clock assembly. It'll give you a code. So if you're looking at a particular bike that does not have OBD plugs, some of them do, some of them don't, do a little research before you buy one. Now personally, I love these Haynes manuals. They got them for everything. And you can see on here, it tells you how you can check them, and then it gives you the codes and what they stand for. Motorcycles generally are more like OBD1. You get a code, in this case it comes on a digital clock and it'll say like code 19 means your side stand switch isn't working. The motorcycle might not start because that switch has to be put up. You can't start it with it down because they don't want you driving down with your stand and then crashing. So do have a lot of information in one of these. You can learn an awful lot. Before you buy a bike, it might behoove you to do a little research. I bought this, but you can often find them online for free. And think of it this way. Okay, this thing could go 154 miles an hour. If you don't drive it over 70, 80 miles an hour, it's gonna last forever. You're not gonna wear the thing out, right? They're overbuilt. Unlike cars, that often, they got a lot of planned obsolescence. It's a lot harder to put it into a motorcycle. If it's gotta go that fast, it's gotta be made pretty solid. Now, when you're looking at a motorcycle, here's some tips. Get yourself a flashlight, open up the gas cap. Look inside. See how clean this baby is? Kept good gas, didn't have any water in it. There's no corrosion at all. And of course, the Japanese make really good gas tanks. They cost a small fortune if they ever go out. Believe me, made by Yamaha. They're not some cheap thing you can get for a few bucks. They cost a small fortune. Most guys will take care of them because they don't want to have to buy one if it rusts up. Now, if you look around here, you can see there's scratches here and there. I got to get touch-up paint just from people dropping them and scratching them. A few over here and here, wherever it dragged down. But look at this. The pipes are still clean. And you know why? Because they're stainless steel. And since it's a stainless steel shield, it doesn't get super hot. And you notice it isn't all blued and then get all rusted and look horrible. Japanese know how to make exhaust systems. This exhaust system is the original one and it still looks phenomenal. Now when you're looking at it, of course you want to check the brakes, make sure they got a lot of pad. This still has a lot of pads left on it. But the tires are good. These were changed recently. As were the back ones. They're still excellent. Front is like 36. And the back is 42. And here's a warning you should heed. I didn't. Bring a gauge and check them. I asked them, are the tires full of air? Oh yeah, everything's right. You can take it for a test. You can drive it around. So I did. And the thing handled really squirrely. I mean, really squirrely. So I checked the tire pressure on the front and the back. And lo and behold, each tire only had 12 PSI in it. Yeah, 12. Because it had sat most of the time. People don't drive these much. Don't listen to anything somebody tells you. You want to be safe. Bring a tire gauge. Pump it up before you take it. I could have killed myself on it. Now, luckily, I've been driving motorcycles since I was a teenager, so I took it real easy driving. And I just noticed, man, this thing handles really squirrely. And then I'm like, whoa, it's got 12 pounds instead of 36 and 42. And as soon as I put the tire pressure up to normal, it handled like a dream. Now, you don't need to get a motorcycle this big. I just happen to like fast motorcycles. With a deal like this, I can't complain. You can get a smaller one that gets even better gas mileage. But the same principle applies to all of them. But I really like this design for one main reason. Look back here. There's no chain. It is a drive shaft, just like a car, with a differential with grease that you change every once in a while. No chain to adjust. No rubber belt to snap. Rocks can hit them and break them. This is a sealed unit. Rocks aren't going to bother this at all. It's a much safer, quieter way. Now, you notice racing motorcycles, most are still using chains and stuff because it's more efficient. They can go faster. Well, this thing goes 154 miles an hour. I don't need to go any faster than that, right? But those are racing machines. It's a completely different story. Modern motorcycles, a lot of them have chains on them or belts because it's cheaper to make them that way. It costs money to make these. And you get a little bit different torque vector if you're really driving like a maniac and cornering. Because instead of a chain going like this, you got that spinning. This thing handles like a dream anyway. Look at the front shocks. Make sure that you don't have a bunch of grease. There's a little bit on this because it's sat for years. But it handles fine. I'm going to drain the thing out anyways. Put new fluid in it and go through the whole thing. But there's nothing dripping down here. It's not all oozing. And as you can see here, this is a trick one. This is for racing mode. But if you're going to be traveling and there's bugs all over the place, push the magic button. Up goes the windshield. And bugs won't hit you in the head. These are so good that I don't have to wear goggles. I can just wear my sunglasses and the wind goes over my head. So all I need is a helmet. I don't need goggles. Goggles sometimes get to be annoying, and with this you don't even need goggles. Plus, if you look closely, those are from rocks. What would you rather have? Rocks hitting your windshield or rocks hitting you in the head? I'll go for the windshield anytime. It's pretty easy to replace. I got 6 screws holding it in, and then if you're just tooling around, hey, down it goes again. Then it looks more like a racing bike. You can comfortably ride someone else on it. It's got a nice back seat, backrest, handholds, and foot pegs on each side for the passenger. If you don't want any passengers, it comes with another seat. You just take this off, put the racing seat on, and then it looks cooler. But I gotta admit, if I was gonna be riding on the back of this thing, which I never do, I'd want a backrest so I didn't fly off. These things are fast. So if the high price of gasoline has got you down and you like driving fast, why not get a good used motorcycle? They can get good gas mileage and have plenty of speed. Plus, they're really cheap to insure. I'd pay less than $100 a year insuring this thing. Hey, you collide in one of these things, who cares if you got insurance? There probably won't be anything left of you. You can get just regular insurance dirt cheap on a motorcycle. How much damage can they do? They don't weigh that much, right? It's not like a car smashing into something. This thing, the only thing that gets damaged is you, so you just make sure you're stone cold sober when you're driving it around, and that you take precautions such as checking the tire pressure, making sure everything's up to snuff. So now you know you can save a ton of money on gasoline and on a purchase price if you buy a non-popular motorcycle in your particular area. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.